Yes. I'm doing very well at that too, so I'm sure I'll be able to read something if I want to, but
Is that actually
That's when you get old. Yeah.
I got to be serious that one.
Too late.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. As Vice President Traylor pointed out, it's near the end of the semester, so I see we've got a bigger crowd tonight. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first we've got the approval of the memorandum of the November 19th, 2018 regular meeting. A copy has been posted. Take a motion to approve.
so moved.
First from Councillor Hopper.
Second.
Second from Councillor Plunkett. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. The memorandum of November 19th, 2018 Town Council meeting is approved. Next up, we've got departmental November monthly reports. Reports were submitted by town management staff for council review and have been posted on the town website. Any questions from any councilors for anyone on staff? All right, I know we just got those, so we can hold them to the next meeting, I guess, if you have some as well. Next up, we've got requests to speak. Amy, I've got one. Any others?
No, there were no others.
Okay, I've got Mr. Jack Perry to speak. If you want to come to the podium, state your name and address. You've got 3 minutes, and I will start timing as soon as you begin after you state your address.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jack Perry. I live at 4880 Willow Road in Zionsville, Indiana. Thank you, Mr. President, for letting me speak.
Sure.
And thank you for your earlier efforts on this topic. I came today to ask the council to please reevaluate an investigation request that was denied me earlier in the year. I submitted a document, a report relative to that request to all the council members on the 28th of November, and I would say that that is the basis of my request. I ask that that reevaluation be granted and that we can find a remedy to that issue through the pre-existing ordinance number 99, the animal ordinance for the town of Zionsville.
Okay. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the brevity. Typically, in request to speak, we just take the information and move on, but you and I have had a conversation, as you pointed out. I feel I'd at least like to update the council on that and my interpretation of that was in the email that you included in that packet that was sent, and I did read that packet. I've spoken to you, I've spoken to your neighbor. You know, I certainly understand your concern. You know, my concern, as I pointed out to you, is this really, from my interpretation, is a neighbor dispute, and I'm not interested in regulating bees for all of Zionsville just because of a neighbor dispute. If you look at the information that you provided, and I wrote some of this down, you know, you had some pretty good names in there, whether it was a Purdue researcher, you know, chief apiary inspector. Both of those, I think, echoed my sentiment to you, which is I would encourage you to continue dialogue with your neighbor. I think that's how that gets that resolved. You know, have a beer together, have 10 beers together, what it might take. I think that's going to do much more than more government intrusion, more government oversight for the entire town. Since I had a chance to speak, I will let any other councilor speak on this matter if anyone else wants to comment, or we can move on to the next agenda item. All right. Thanks, Mr. Perry. I appreciate it.
Do I have time for one clarifying question? to the president.
All right, sure, I'm in a good mood.
Thank you very much. And it may not be something that you can answer, but would you say at this point that I've exhausted any administrative remedy to this issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Heather, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming out. Next up, we've got old business. First up is a consideration of an ordinance to rezone approximately 73.30 acres from the AG Agriculture Zoning District to the rural I-1 Light Industrial Zoning District. This has been forwarded from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation. This is ordinance number 2018-23. This had been continued from our November 19th, 2018 meeting. Mr. DeLong, are you speaking on this, or do we have the attorneys that should speak on this? What's better for you, Wayne? Sorry to make you come up, but it's what it tells me.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll just approach the mic for sake of record only. Staff has no additional information to provide on this petition. So one of the petitioners here to speak.
Great. Mr. Price, do you want to come up then?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, for the record, my name is Matt Price, here tonight on behalf of the petitioner Van Trust. With me from Van Trust are Bill Baumgartner and Rafe Webster, right behind me, and our civil engineer, Ross Nixon. You may all recall that on November 19th, the council granted us a 2-week continuance to tonight to work with the Saratoga neighborhood and their council, who's also here tonight, Jeff Jacob and Tony Rodolfo. We have provided you, and you have in front of you, some revised commitments that are built upon the commitments that the Plan Commission included, but go a number of steps further. And I thought I'd just highlight those real quickly and then see what questions that you may have. First of all, the original petition and this petition, or the original set of commitments and this set of commitments maintain 2 berms, what we refer to as the northern berm here, which is the northern property line of the property, and the southern berm, which is this berm right here. We were asked by the Saratoga residents and their council to increase the height of that berm from 10 to 12 feet, and we've agreed to do that. You may recall that during the initial council meeting when this matter was considered, I know Councilor Suarez and perhaps others requested of us to install a fence, which the neighborhood did as well, and we've agreed to do that so that there will be a 6-foot tall cedar fence installed on top of the berm. And you'll see in the commitments, and council for Saratoga helped phrase those commitments with us. And so we came up with this idea that the intent and the goal here and the standard for this project to be evaluated against is to create a total berm and fence that is 18 feet tall. And so that's what that's what we've included in the commitments. The additional one item I've listed as the 3rd item, although it's a very significant component of our commitments, is there was a great deal of discussion, you may recall, about the potential impact of this project and perhaps other pending projects or projects that are under construction now impacting the well or source of water for the Saratoga subdivision. I think Councilor Schuler first raised the idea of could Van Trust extend water throughout the subdivision, and we studied that a great deal and had several discussions with Mr. Jacob and Mr. Rodolfo about it, and we have reached an agreement to extend water throughout the subdivision. So the idea is that we've got an exhibit that will be part of these commitments that shows an actual depiction of an 8-inch water line installed in accordance with the Whitestown Water Utilities standards and specifications in such a way that there will be a water line either adjacent to each home site or, I think it's fair to say, across the street, basically running in front of every homeowner's house throughout the development. it would be up to each individual homeowner to then decide whether they want to go ahead and install a lateral and actually connect to that water source. But the water would be brought to them. So that's a very costly endeavor. It certainly creates a great deal of burden on my client's project, but they felt like it was appropriate based on the concerns that were raised, and the negotiations with council arrived at that concession and that agreement to install that. I've got just a couple of other quick points which I'll mention, which I think are of particular moment, which is the neighborhood worked with us very closely with regard to the planning, both in terms of the variety of species and the spacing and density of the plantings to be installed on the landscaping along the berm. And so we were even given pictures of the landscaping along the, you may be familiar with this, it is an attractive set of landscaping that goes around the auto auction, which is just south of this location. And so we use that as the guiding star for establishing both the species and the density, and by density I mean the spacing of those trees, so that they'll be planted in such a way that they'll create a screen of dense vegetation in much the same way that the auto auction landscaping has been done. In fact, I can represent that in regard to the evergreen trees in particular. The spacing is actually more dense than what you'll see at the auto auction. So we think it's going to at least be as good as what is seen there. Now, in fairness, I will say this: the landscaping around the auto auction is at full growth, so that's not what it's going to look like on the day it's planted. But over time, it will fill in and be a very robust buffer around along our berm and fencing. There are other details of the proposal that are in the commitments that we've worked out very carefully as well. If there are any questions about those, I'm happy to answer. But those are, I think, the highlights of those proposals. And I will say that throughout the process, and I think you saw this during, well, certainly it was the case during the Plan Commission hearing and in both council proceedings, we had good conversations with the neighborhood all along. And I think Mr. Jacobs and Mr. Rodolfo's involvement was very positive and helped us come to a compromise that I think is a good outcome for all concerned, including Van Trust and the town. Mm-hmm. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Before we
go there, Mr. Price, Mr. Jacobs, do you any comments you have on? We just sort of got these commitments just from a neighborhood reaction. Your thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jeff Jacob. I'm an attorney with Hackman Hewlett here in town at 1620 West Oak Street. Tony Rodolfo is also here with me this evening, and we represent 17 of the 22 home sites in the Saratoga subdivision. And we have worked pretty closely with Mr. Price. We did have a pretty compressed time period to work through these, and my clients have no objection to the project as tendered.
Great. Any questions from any councilors? Yeah, please.
Could I just make a comment, Matt, and the folks at the development company, as well as the people in the neighborhood? I really appreciate the fact that you guys took the time to get together and work collaboratively to get a good job done here. So thank you for taking that extra time. You didn't have to do that, and I think this sets a good model going forward for the rest of the community. Thanks.
Agreed.
Agreed as well.
So you're going to run a water main down all their roads there?
Can you let me get the map out?
That's fine. I thought that's what I understood you to say. I'm like, that's a huge commitment.
If it would be, Counselor, if it would be helpful, we can actually give you individual copies as well.
Nope.
But
Nope.
We're proud of our water.
I've got it pulled up on Google Maps, and I just had to remind myself what the subdivision looked like. I'm like, that's a huge commitment.
Great.
The exact entry point is not specified yet as far as where along each one of these homes it will enter as an initial matter, but then once installed, it's the red line.
Right.
Are you leaving an access door for fishing in the pond? I think the neighbors
We
would
have not
appreciate that.
discussed stocking,
Talked to
yeah.
a couple of them, they said they'd appreciate that.
Any other questions for Mr. Price or Mr. Jacob? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion to adopt in final reading by Councilor Schuler.
Second.
Second from Vice President Traylor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Ordinance number 2018-23 is adopted by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Appreciate it. On to new business. The only item here is a consideration of additional appropriation resolution, final rectifying for multiple departments. This is a public hearing and resolution number 2018-18. Deputy Mayor Mitro.
Thank you. This is the first of 2 year-end kind of rectifications that we generally bring for you. This is an additional appropriation of funds to close out various projects that we have. I will kind of run through these very briefly. Staff with each of the departments noted is here if you have any particular questions. The first is an additional appropriation from the Lowett Special Distribution Fund in the amount of $136,768.95. That is to reimburse the Boone County Highway Department for joint paving projects that we have done. This is, I think, the second year that we have entered into kind of a joint project whereby Boone County will do some of the work, we'll do some of the work, and we help pay it. This again comes from the special distribution that we received back 2 years ago. The second is an additional appropriation from the Road Impact Fee Fund. As you note, we have over $1 million in that fund currently. This money is being used to help fund the traffic counts that will be needed for the update to the Road Impact Fee Ordinance that we will be launching into next year. And as you note, Road Impact Fee funds can be used to fund updates to the various projects, and that is what we are requesting. Third item is from the general fund. The first of those two is Plan Commission Engineering. In the past, we have come a few times during the year to do what we always call the pass-through, where we receive money back from developers for engineering work being reviewed by our town engineers. We received gentle pushback last year that we're coming back to you too many times, so we came back one time this year with one large amount. That number, again, is money that is being reimbursed to us from developers, and I think that dollar amount should indicate to you the size and the amount of work that is being done this year. It has been a very, very busy year with a lot of projects. The second item is an IT service agreement for $65,000. As many of you recall, what we did, we had a particular new position in the 2018 budget. Mid-year, what we decided to do was go with an outside consultant firm and a contractual position. We did not touch the actual funds from the 100 series, which was the funds for that person's salary. But obviously, we hadn't budgeted for the contractual. So what this does is just take that money. It's not even new money. It's taking that money and putting it in to pay for that contractual person, as opposed to a regular employee, which we will have next year. And finally, the last is a Gulf operational fund. This is to help complete the funding of the irrigation system. As you recall, in last year's or this year's budget, we put about $400,000 in for a new irrigation system. This is helping from the Golf Course Operating Fund to complete that project, which is largely completed and in the ground even as we speak. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions. For those that I may not be able to answer, our staff is here to help.
Go over that one more time.
You really want me to?
No. Any questions for Deputy Mayor Mitro from any councilors? All right, this is a public hearing with proof of publication. I will open the public hearing to any member of the public that would like to comment on this. All right, we'll close the public hearing. If there's no questions, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a first from Councilor Spies,
Second.
Second from Vice President Traylor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Resolution number 2018-18 passes with a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. I have no other matters. Any other counselor have another matter to discuss? We've got approval of claims. I'll make a motion to approve. Can I have a second?
Second.
Heard Vice President Traylor just by a fraction of a hair. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Claims are approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. We'd like to adjourn. I take a motion.
So moved.
Got a first from Councilor Hopper, second from Councilor Plunkett. We're anxious here. I like it. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion to adjourn approved by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular Town Council meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 17th, 2018 at 7:30 a.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Class dismissed.
Dang it.
Hey,
If you didn't joke around, you might have been.
one minor typo. Did you see the typo?
That added.
Not that it matters. I think anybody with any brain is going to know that you don't really mean the total gold course operating fund. Oh, okay.
Your version doesn't have one being signed.
Greg? Oh, and secondly, this one's